Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bryan Hauptman. I'm Senior Vice President of Global Sales with Datto. As Tim mentioned, we are Connecticut's only unicorn with a $1 billion valuation. And today, we're all here because we're charged with hyper growth. Whether you're sales, marketing, or product, we're all responsible for growing our companies and pushing the envelope beyond what we're asked to do on a daily basis. So today, really, I'm going to tell you more of a story and hopefully give you some things to take away and talk about some of the challenges that I faced trying to grow this company. So first and foremost, I want to tell you, when I came into Datto, I was ready to run my playbook. I worked at SunGard for close to 10 years previously and had a successful run. It was a fantastic company, but was looking for a change, something a bit more dynamic. And I came to Datto and was ready to run my playbook. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the enterprise, and we're going to do all these amazing things. My first week at Datto, I realized, after speaking with our 28-year-old CEO, that I had a lot more to do than just run a playbook. I finished that first week and was completely gassed. I was out of breath. I equated to being out of work shape. I was running an 8-minute mile. The rest of the company, they were running a 5-minute mile. And I couldn't find enough time in the day to catch up. And there's no way you can innovate and push yourself beyond what's expected unless you're ahead of everyone. So I took that 8-minute mile, and that second week, I had to shave it down to 4 just to stay ahead of the pack and innovate and lead this team to where we needed to be. So we're now off and running. I'm going to leave you today, hopefully, with 4 things. Get your pencils out. They're mind-blowing to write them down. First and foremost, you have to understand the situation. Second, align to your customer. Third, build for scale. And always enhance. So let me give you a brief summary of where we got to at Datto and how we got where we are today. So typical startups you see probably closer to the 2013, 2014 timeframe and exploding up till today. Well, we actually started 10 years ago. This week is actually our 10-year anniversary. And we started in the basement of our CEO's father. He was 21 at the time and thought that there was a better way to provide backup and recovery services to small and mid-sized businesses. He then created a series of products, the first of which he tried to sell on eBay, which obviously failed miserably. He ran up about $80,000 of credit card debt trying to build and his company, his team, and he was really bootstrapped. By 2009, he found a channel, which was the managed service provider community, which was basically a community of technologists that sold technology to end customers. This started to pick up some steam. By 2010, we were recognized in the industry. By 2011, we started to expand more. And 2012 was our watershed moment. For those of you in the room that remember Hurricane Sandy, one of the biggest catastrophes on this side of the world. And no, I'm not fear-mongering, but this was a big boom for us because we actually had 500 current customers that we were supporting that all lost power, lost their workplaces, lost the ability to function, and we had them all up the next morning. So 500 small to mid-sized businesses could have been out of business with this data loss and disruption, and we had them up the next day. And from then, we started to pick up some momentum. In 2013, we received our first round of funding. In 2014 is when I joined Datto, and we started to really build things out globally. We received our second round of funding in 2015 in December, and we received the $1 billion valuation at that point. And we'll talk a little bit more about where we've come since then today. So a quick overview of Datto. Obviously, the growth rate is exponential. What I really want you to focus on, and this is probably the key to our success, is the 80% recurring SaaS revenue. Very important, because our CEO likes to remind me every December, I could fire you and the entire sales team tomorrow and still have growth next year. So it continues to build up. I like to remind him I could fire all of legal and finance and we could grow at 300%, but he doesn't really go for that. So what does Datto do? Quick overview of how we've done this. So we provide enterprise IT solutions to small to mid-sized businesses through our managed service provider community. So imagine there's a device that goes into an end customer. That device backs up all of their data. That device then sends it to our cloud, and our customers can restore in a matter of 6 seconds, having all their data available at their fingertips in under 6 seconds. We also offer this for SaaS applications, whether it's O365, Google, or Salesforce. And we also offer a failover for network, whereas if your network or internet connectivity is lost, we'll fail you over on a 4G network through cell towers and have you back up and running shortly. And for this whole story to make sense, I do want to talk to you a little bit about our sales model. So if you look to my right, you have your Dado sales team. In the middle, we have our MSP, which is our managed service provider. And finally, our SMB customer. It looks like a forecasting nightmare. It is, but we've gotten to perfect it a little bit better. The salespeople sell to an MSP, who then sells to the end customer. The beauty of this is that MSP has, on average, 50 customers. So you make one sale, and if you continue to educate that MSP, they will saturate all 50 customers. And I say 50, some have 10, some have 3,000. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity here for us to grow. When I came in, the average MSP had 10 devices. So we are continuing to push that umbrella up to get to those 50, thus making that SMB pool fairly limitless. Here's an example. We work with an MSP that services dentist's office. Now, if I was to hire a sales rep to cold call dentist's office all day, I can probably imagine they're going to quit within 2 weeks. But instead, we've built this alignment with this MSP that focuses solely on dentist's office, and they have north of 300 devices with us today. Exponential growth through one salesperson and one MSP. So let's get back to those 4 things we talked about. So first and foremost, understand the situation. I could have come in and said, hey, here's the playbook, here's what we're doing, enterprise, shut down the channel. I didn't do that. I had to come in and find out what was working. I interviewed every sales rep that I could, and at the time I had about 35 salespeople coming in. Interviewed every single salesperson I could, every single account manager, sales engineer, every member of the leadership team to find out what was working and what wasn't, because something was obviously working. I want you to remember this next number, it's 88. Because in the beginning, when I first got there, all we talked about were demos and product. Demos and product. Can you get a demo of my product? Let's spiff the salespeople $25 for every demo they have of our product. Did you know what our product does? It was very, very tactical, and this success would be short-lived if we kept going after this type of strategy. We had good salespeople, but we just didn't have enough of them. We had a really, really good story, but we had no way to tell it. My favorite part is everyone wanted to get better. When I would walk into a room and start talking to the sales and marketing professionals and leaders in our company, it was heads and pencils down taking notes. How do we do this? So if I go back to that number 88, we wasted 88 hours in Q1 of 2014 on bad demos. This was wasted on people that would never become a partner, that would never buy from us, but the salespeople were incented to just get a demo in front of them and they're going to buy. 88 hours. You multiply that times 2 because you had a sales rep and a sales engineer on every phone. So we needed to change something. We needed to look at how were we marketing to our potential customers? How were sales aligned to do this? So we came back and we looked at marketing from the top of our funnel. How do we change this? Who are we selling to, and do we know who we're selling to? We really had to clear up this message. So we looked at our top of funnel of our marketing qualified leads. We gave marketing a number of marketing qualified leads with a score that they had to hit every month. And this score had to be broadcasted throughout the company. So we gave them an SLA. This SLA had some real teeth. Because if they didn't hit this SLA, there were issues. We then had to have an SLA around our sales accepted leads. How many of those marketing qualified leads could flow through and actually be accepted and worked by sales? We had our business development team qualify them and bring them through our funnel. So if you look at the top of the funnel, we put a quota of about 30,000 leads from our marketing team that had to get skinny down to about 800 sales qualified leads that were being worked by a lead gen team each month. Then we aligned our global sales team. Before we had, like I said, we had good salespeople, but they were misaligned. Some were working new business, some were working existing, some were just doing administrative work. and putting deals in for partners that never even talked to their salespeople. So we created a team of hunters that were going to execute on these net new leads for us and bring those leads to fruition. And then once they sold that first device, they moved on to the next one. And it was a high volume type sale. We then brought on and implemented a partner and customer success team. This is the quarterback, or these are the quarterback of our sales team. Because if there's one thing that us salespeople, and I'm a lifelong salesperson, are terrible at, doing non-revenue producing activities. Our customers love us because we're a handshake and a deal signer. They hate us when they say, hey, can you fix this billing issue for me? Or can you do this support ticket? Terrible at it. We brought this customer success team who are, their DNA is a little bit off from sales. They are more of the, hey, how can I help you versus how can I sign this and get something else signed and buy a nice car. So our success team basically took this, carried the ball to fruition, and then we put our growth team in place who really managed our biggest partners. Because this was about 85 to 90% of our revenue were existing partners. And I'll talk to you a little bit about those metrics in a second. So when we aligned the teams and we looked at how is this going to work, how are we going to grow, we found a KPI that was instrumental to us receiving this valuation. We found that if we brought on 100 new buying partners per month, we could really grow this thing out. We could really blow it out because this is the next number I want you to be aware of. And this isn't the how to become a unicorn speech. This is, here's something we found out to help us grow. There are different levers you can pull and things you can do and metrics you can look at. But if you can build this into something systematically that you can follow, that's what I want you to get out of this today. But that 53.2% that we're talking about, that was our average growth per partner per year. So when we brought on 100 buying partners and they spent $10,000 with us in a year, their monthly or their initial monthly purchase was $10,000 and they spent $1,000 per month incrementally, they still continue to grow that next year. They bought 53.2% more than the following year and 53.2% after that. And we have cohort analysis driven where through the life of all of our partners, they continue to grow at this rate. So the more partners that we bring on, the more our success rate can be and the higher our valuation can be. So we now had a great answer on how do we grow our net new business and why is it important and why do we need to invest in this engine. It's literally 5% of our yearly revenue, but it's going to equate to 95% in the coming years. So we had a great way to look at how we bring on net new. Now, how do we align with our customer? Because we have this big bulk, 90% of our business right now are existing partners. So what did marketing do? So I talked a little bit about how we aligned on the first part with marketing and how we brought on net new customers. And let me tell you, it wasn't all roses and puppy dogs because I went through 3 marketing leaders through that time. And it was not a fun time. We exposed a lot of weaknesses through that funnel. But we got to a point where marketing was all in and said, okay, product and demo, let's throw that out. Let's focus on our partners. Let's focus on how to educate them. So what do? We put out content for them and webinars and sessions on how do they understand our technology and how do they position it to their customers. How do we get those 10 devices to 50 for every managed service provider? We rolled out content such as how do our MSPs hire top tech talent, things that they struggle with. We did road shows where we actually brought some of our partners from other regions into other cities where they spoke to other partners who were prospective partners of Datto or other partners who were learning to, how do I make more money on this? Because when they sell one of our devices, they can mark it up whatever they want on a one-time and a monthly fee. We don't publish any pricing. So our partners actually came out there and spoke on our behalf and said, hey, here's how you make money selling Datto. Here's how you can become successful. We also put out some books on how do you work with your operations more effectively? How do you price? How do you sell? We've held sales seminars for their sales team. So we really, from a marketing perspective, pulled our partners in and pulled them in really tight. They would get on webinars for us and talk about how great their lives are now that they use our technology versus one of our competitors. And from a sales perspective, we had to pull our partners even closer. We had them come at our sales kickoff where they would get on stage and they would let our sales team pepper them with the most intricate questions. Who's your favorite vendor? What do you like about Datto's salespeople? What don't you like? What's the worst call you've ever got? And our partners gave us a tremendous amount of ammunition on how we can get better. We released a brand new product in January. They came in there and told us exactly how they wanted to be pitched on that new product. We enhanced our global advisory board. We took people from all over the world. They would fly to Norwalk, and Norwalk, Connecticut is no hotbed of talent, so just gonna put that out there. We had people come from Australia, from Germany, from London, to come and talk about how can we make you better? What types of offerings can you give, and what type of roadmap can you put together to make us more effective? Not only us as partners, but your entire partner community. So then now I look at what was the marketing impact of this? So we did all these great things. We have this great community. And I mentioned before that we had gone through 3 marketing leaders. We brought on Pete Rawlinson in January of 2016. So I've been working with Pete now for over a year and a half. And he embraced this, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. We've got a great working relationship, and it gets tenuous at times when you have SLAs that aren't being met. But the one true measure of how a partnership and how this is working out is adversity. And we faced some adversity probably mid to late last year, closer to mid last year. There's a presidential candidate that you guys may or may not know of that had some emails backed up that we were responsible for. And it can get a little dicey. We had some British tabloids coming after us. We had some partners questioning us. Pete ran this crisis communication throughout our entire team and through our entire partner network. And he did it flawlessly. Yeah, there were some issues, but we breezed right through them. Our partners stuck up for us in the forums. Our sales reps communicated effectively. This was all driven by Pete. So these are one of the things where when you have that type partnership, there's some trust given and trust taken. There's nothing scarier than a rep who's been on for 3 weeks coming to your office and saying, I've got Fox News on the phone. Do you want to talk to them or not, or should I take it? So these are some things that they were coached on, and they executed perfectly. Now I look at the sales impact. Everything was up and to the right. We continue to scale and continue to build out. Our partners are our lifeblood in this case, and they were frenetic on how we basically took off. We have an annual partner conference every year, and this is how we basically measure our brand to some degree. We had 200 the first year, 300 the next, 700 last year, and just last week we had over 1,500 partners who took a week off of their schedule and out of their business to come watch us speak about technology and innovation. So these are some of the things that we're doing. So next brings me to building for scale. So we talked about this model, how we can manage it on the net new side, as well as how we can manage it on the existing side. But we continue to need to build this for scale. If you can come up with a model that's predictable, because right now, for good or bad, we can know X amount of leads will give you Y amount of revenue. And while that's good, the bad news is your board comes to you and says, well, what could you do if I gave you this? So right now, Pete and I are in a battle where our board came and said, we want $50 million more by 2019. Go make it happen. We'll give you whatever you need. So a little harder than what it sounds like, but Pete and I are in lockstep, and he knows that if he increases his top of funnel, the sales team will execute on it. And I said, this model continues to grow. We're still moving at 53.2% year over year with our partners. That's impactful when you call up a partner who you're trying to bring on and say, hey, the average growth rate is 53.2%, get on board. It's scalable. We can continue to build this out. And I'll talk to you a little bit more in a second about how that funnel has continued to improve, because if I said it looks the same way it did 2.5 years ago, I probably wouldn't be here right now. But this also resonates globally. We have a centralized marketing team that covers 80% across the globe. We give our foreign subsidiaries, Australia, Singapore, Canada, London, Germany, they take 20% and use their cultural autonomy to make additional decisions, but they run the same playbook. So let's talk about my last topic here, always enhance. As I mentioned before, if this waterfall looked the same today, then Pete and I are doing our jobs. We have a scientific method of where the top leads can come in from and how we can prospect to them and where are they most effective. We have real skin and real teeth in those SLAs, and every level of the organization is held accountable. So we can go in and pinpoint where our issues are and how we need to fix them. And if I look at how we tiered our sales team, we took our hunters and divided them into 2 groups and made sure that some were getting the tier 1 leads versus tier 2. We took our partner success team and basically married them to partners that came in that had different tracks and different levels of success. And we obviously built out our farmer team to grow some of our more strategic partners or others that may be underperforming. So where are we now? You know, we talked in the early stages of 2014. It's now 2017. Things have really escalated as well, and we're continuing to grow. We're about 850 employees and growing. So back in 2014 when I started, it was just under 200. We had about 30 salespeople. We're north of 250 salespeople today. 350 petabytes of data, which I don't know if that means anything to you at all, but we are the largest purpose-built backup cloud in the world today, with 9 offices and over 500,000 products delivered across 77 countries. So it's been an absolutely fantastic ride. I can't complain. If I told you that today I got to back off a little bit and I was taking it easy, I'd be lying. I'm still running that 4-minute mile, but I'm running it with my CMO and I'm running with my partners, and we're on our way to $10 billion valuation by 2020. So thank you for your time today. I'm happy to take any questions you have. Yes.
I don't know if you can share this, but I would like to hear about the key performance indicators using your sales team, number of calls, number of people connected, number of closes, and what else do you value to grow your sales team?
Sure. So the question was, what were the KPIs we use to grow our sales team? So there's a high-level KPI that we use, which is our new buying partners, which I mentioned. There's hardware revenue, and there's monthly recurring revenue. So that's at the very top level. And then you can break each of those down into different segments. So it would be number of calls for a hunter versus a farmer would be vastly different. We've actually taken our books. In the beginning, each one of our reps would manage a massive amount of partners, let's say 100. We've now taken them down to 50, and we've realized they become more effective with the lesser partners that they manage today. From a call perspective, it varies. Our SDRs are anywhere between, those are in lead gen, are 80 to 100 calls a day. Our hunters are probably closer to 40 to 60, and then our growth team is closer to 30 to 50. Thank you. Any other questions? That's correct. We have way more farmers. I would say it's probably on a 1 to 10 ratio, 1 hunter for every 10 farmers. And then for partner success, it's 1 partner success manager to every 10 farmers as well.
Initially, how did you actually convince the MSP that the SME even wanted the product?
And the question was initially, how do we convince the MSP that the SME needed the product? So there's a need in our industry for data backup and protection, and that's one of the things I probably didn't mention was we have a really good story to tell, and our story is around providing a small to mid-sized business to protect data for a small to mid-sized business. So 70% of companies out there today are still on legacy tape. Now, we've armed our MSPs with other ways to go out and advertise and sell to these small to mid-sized companies. And one of the ways more recently that's been very good for us, it's been in the paper, is ransomware. The average company will lose between $30,000 and $100,000 on one ransomware event, and our technology will cost you under $12,000. So just the economics there were areas that we felt were good. We also have ROI calculators that we give to our partners. So we have a flurry of tools that we arm them with to make them successful. Other questions? Does the marketing team have a compensation plan? They have a bonus plan that's tied to the SLAs that are driven with that with our metrics.
What is the average sales cycle for a hunter in your business?
Average sales cycle for a hunter, It's probably my favorite part of the business coming from an enterprise. It's 6 weeks. Yeah. I'm out of time. Thank you for your time today, everybody.
Thank you very much.